What's up, everybody? We've recently covered the first 2 issues of the new Captain America series by Zdarsky, and today we're getting back to it with issue 3, where Steve Rogers comes face to face with Dr. Doom for the first time. If you're wondering how that's possible, well, the series resets Steve Rogers' story and introduces a brand new Captain America named David Colton, who took up the mantle while Steve Rogers was frozen in ice. But in this new take on Steve Rogers, he has awakened in a world where wars are fought in the shadows, and he's struggling with the new version of American power that has taken hold in his absence. This has also created tension between Steve and his successor. It's a really gritty and compelling take on Cap, and it's been excellent so far. If you haven't read the first 2 issues or watched our video on them, you can find links for those episodes in the description. But before we see what happens next, I just got back from Gamescom in Germany a couple of weeks ago, and it has me gaming a lot more lately. But a game I've actually been playing for a long time might surprise you. I'm also about to hook you up with some freebies so you can try that game for yourself, and I'm talking about Raid Shadow Legends. From now through November 13th, they've partnered with Paramount on a crossover event that introduces the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles into the Raid Shadow Legends universe. And the trailer they put out for this is cool enough that you can't help but wonder what a comic or animated series might look like. Anyway, during the event, you can actually add all 4 of the Turtles along with Shredder and April O'Neil to your Champions roster. And that starts with Michelangelo, who you'll get for free after logging in for 7 days. Like most of you, I grew up on TMNT, so this is easily my favorite Raid crossover to date. But you've got to start playing by October 30th if you want to collect the TMNT Champions. The bottom line is that this is the perfect time to join the Raid community, and like I said earlier, we're going to set you guys up nice to try Raid for yourself. By clicking our link in the description or scanning the QR code on screen, all new players will immediately get a huge starter pack with the highly effective epic champion Tayrel from the High Elves faction. Then after reaching level 15, you'll get a second starter pack with the epic champion Rector Drath, which is one of Raid's strongest support champions. Then on top of that, we're going to hook all of you new players up with a legendary champion using one of the promo codes in the description. You have 5 legendary champions to choose from, including Green Warden Ruark, Alice the Wanderer, Tahunarok, Sun Wukong, and Tholan Foulbeard. But I personally recommend Ruark for his strong defense and team protection. Regardless, with all that, there's no reason for you not to download and dive into Raid for yourself. So click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to jump in. Then come find me under the name The Tim. I'll see you there. All right, so Captain America issue 3 opens with a flashback to David Colton Captain America and several of his soldiers patrolling the streets of Ramadi. They're all nervous and on edge as we see them start to argue with each other about why they're still in Iraq, risking their lives, as we simultaneously get internal monologue from Colton that says, "I can barely remember home. Stopped writing back to mom. Got too hard. It felt like she was writing to a different son, someone I used to know." Then just as this new Captain America starts to get his unit under control, he notices a little boy who is watching them before he takes off running, followed by a car that comes speeding toward them out of nowhere. Colton yells, "Take cover," as he starts shooting at the car, but it's too late. The car explodes, sending him and his unit flying. On the next page, we'll return to the present and the moment where issue 2 left off, with Dr. Doom facing off against Steve Rogers and Marius Wolf. Doom says, "Stephen Rogers, America born, Europe forged, a miracle of science. Now a modern miracle of science standing in front of me. Truly amazing. I am a student of history, Rogers. Your fight against the Nazis was inspiring to me as a young man. Your becoming a symbol for your people resonated deeply with me." We also see internal monologue from Steve that says, "This isn't a fight. You're buying time now so Colton and the commandos can find the hostages." With that in mind, Steve goes on to say, "Victor Von Doom, murderer, dictator. Tell me something, doctor. I just spent the last few years of my life in the trenches hunting Adolf Hitler. What makes you any different?" To which Doom replies, "Hitler was elected. I took power to save my people." Doom then grabs the face of Marius Wolf as he says, "I have more in common with this young man here than the despicable, cowardly Fuhrer." But Wolf responds, "I'm nothing like you." Doom then looks him in the eyes and says, "Marius Wolf, leader of the so-called resistance. You see me in power on the throne and you despise me. You'll do anything, kill anyone to take my place. We are not so dissimilar, boy. The only difference is you seek power." Rogers then speaks up and says, "The embassy hostages. Release them, Doom. Unless you want the full force of the United States military on your throat." Doom then walks up to Steve and says, "Oh, Captain, it truly breaks my heart hearing those words, knowing that you believe them." He then taps the black star on his chest while he continues, "They clad you in a dark star, and yet you still shine through with your light." Doom then turns to his bot and says, "Sergey, prepare the Americans for release." And the Doombot replies, "Yes, Master, at once." While Steve says to himself, "It can't be that easy, can it?" Followed by Dr. Doom telling Steve, "While we wait, let me show you how a true country of moral standing operates. On the next page, we're taken to Colton, Captain America, and the Howling Commandos as we see them approach the front of the United States Embassy and are about to break in to free the hostages. They quickly dispatch several Latvian soldiers and make their way inside, but Colton is uneasy about the whole thing and says, "Too easy, Slate," to which she replies, "Agreed." Then as they continue to make their way inside the compound, they find that it's largely empty, except Colton sees a kid in a number 11 jersey running down the hall. Now, obviously, this is just Colton having a nightmarish hallucination, so he tells the Marines we're clear, and they make their way forward and towards the doors of the main hall. And on the other side of the door, they hear someone saying, "Hurry, the master is not a patient." But before anything else is said, Captain America and the Commandos bust through the door to find Latvian soldiers moving the hostages out in body bags. This causes them to immediately start firing on the Latvian soldiers. And just as a soldier named Chill is about to kill the final Latvian, Captain America tells him to wait. He then grabs the guy by the face and says, "There are only 10 bodies here. Where are the other 2 hostages?" while simultaneously placing his gun against the Latvian's forehead. We are then taken to another flashback and the moment right after the car explosion that happened on the first couple pages of the issue. Here we see Colton slowly getting up as the dust settles with captions that say, "My ears decided to make noise of their own, so I wouldn't hear the crying, the screaming. We'd count the dead later. But who was alive now? And what were they doing in the chaos? Move, help. That's all that was on my mind. And my mom waiting for a letter from a ghost." And as we're getting this inner monologue from Colton, we see him walk up just in time to see one of his soldiers shoot the little boy who was trying to escape. In shock and disbelief, he walks over to the little boy's now limp body and just hugs him, clearly saddened and traumatized that his fellow soldier gunned down this little child. And with these panels, we finally learn what it is that really broke David Colton, Captain America, and left him with full-on PTSD. It also tells us why he was envisioning that little boy running through the halls at the US Embassy. But from here we then jump back to the present where we see Doom showing Rogers and Wolf around Latveria. Doom then walks up to a street vendor named Milda Krieger and asks her in front of Rogers and Wolf, "How has life been for you since the fall of King Vladimir?" At first, she's completely shocked that he even knows her name, and then she answers his question by saying, "Oh, for the first time I truly know peace. Our Lord Doom keeps us safe. Thieves used to loot my stand once, sometimes twice a week, but now nobody dares." An angry Marius Wolf then chimes in and yells, "Nobody dares because to do so means death. Our people live in terror under an iron fist, and we have no choice in the matter. Like Vladimir, you've denied us freedom." Captain America then adds, "Freedom for safety, freedom for prosperity, a price too high always." They then walk on as Doom responds to them by saying, "Such banal ideas, yet still not without their charms. I respect you, Captain, I do, even if your country does not. We're not isolationists, Latvians. When the world called upon us to fight the Germans in the First World War, we answered the call. When evil encroaches, we fight, and we did the same in World War II. My admiration for you may seem at odds with our system of government, but the heart of us is the same, Stephen Rogers. When evil shows its face, we fight as men." And as he finishes his point by saying, "and as symbols," he shows Captain America a display they have in their museum that features a statue of Captain America, Bucky Barnes, and their Howling Commandos fighting during World War II. A shocked Captain America looks at the statue and asks himself, "Bucky, what would you do now in the face of all this? You would kill him, wouldn't you? Stop his madness from spreading across Europe. Maybe you should have been the one to wake up here." All while Doom continues to say, "It may seem impossible to you, but I have a certain fondness for America. What it can be. I studied there because it had the best school in the world. America is potential, and once in a while, that potential breaks through. You broke through. You saved Latveria. You saved the world. That has earned you a spot in our history, Captain, and my people should remember what America once was. You've awakened to a new world, Captain. Freedom, democracy. Your country uses these words that you made golden and perfect all those decades ago. They use them to cover their atrocities and their cold grip on the world. America is now the enemy." And these words cause Captain America to question himself further by saying, "Is he right, Bucky? Am I a fool for falling back in line? Or can I still trust my eyes and my heart?" Marius Wolf then chimes in saying, "Don't listen to him. He's a snake trying to distract you." To which Cap replies, "It's okay. I may be a man out of time, and I don't know America anymore. Not yet. So perhaps you're right. I may end up a citizen without a country. I don't know this world, but I know people. There are good ones and bad ones. That never changes. And you, Victor Von Doom, you're a bad one." And at that very moment, Colton radios in and tells Steve they're dead. He murdered the hostages. The ambassador's spouse and kid are still alive, and we're headed to them. Radio back when you're clear. Over." But as Cap is hearing this, Doom notices that he's distracted, and he says, "Captain, is your mind elsewhere? Perhaps with your friends at the embassy?" Cap then wastes no time and slams Doom in the face with his shield, followed by going to attack the Doom bot. However, the bot hits him with an energy blast while Dr. Doom says, "Did you think I was unaware of the other Americans and your feeble rebels? This helpful automaton has been with Wolf's rebels for weeks, charting the group's every movement. But now that its espionage days are over, I'd say it's time to finally gather you all for public execution. Doombot 7, please keep Mr. Rogers entertained, but do not kill him. I want to send him back to his leaders broken, yet alive." Cap then screams into his radio, "Colton, he's coming for the rebels. He knows everything." We then see the Doombot gathering its power as Cap says, "Do you hear me, Colton?" Followed by the Doombot unleashing every weapon it has in its arsenal and blasting Cap backward. At the same time, we see that Captain America continues his inner monologue saying, "He played us. I thought I was buying time, but it was Doom buying time, sending his troops out into the city to gather and kill his enemies. I'm a fool, too young or too old for this world. A relic, a soldier who doesn't yet know the war they're in. Reed Richards is no relic though. He's a man on the cutting edge who understands Doom and his creatures, their strengths and weaknesses. So when the Doombot approaches Steve, he says, "Captain America, my master won't allow me to kill you, but your scars will haunt your people as a warning that Latveria is forever sovereign." But when the Doombot raises Captain America in the air by his throat, Steve jabs a knife into his robotic neck and cuts his head off. However, just as Steve is saying to himself, "Okay, now to work out where..." But just as Steve is about to make his escape, he hears the Doombot say, "Doombot 7 disabled. Engage self-destruct." Followed by a massive explosion ringing out through the building. Now, of course, you have to imagine that Steve Rogers is not dead, but things are not going well. Anyway, on the next page, we are brought back to the flashback of Colton in Iraq, where he's still holding the child his fellow soldier shot down. The soldier tells him, "You saw, he ran, he knew. Parker, she's dead, Cap. I'm sorry, but I don't care. It's them or us. Kid wants to play with the big boys, he gets taken out." But before that soldier can say another word, Colton rams his shield right into his face and begins to beat the life out of him. On the next panel, we cut to the Latverian town square where Doom is bringing Wolf in for public execution, alongside narration from Steve Rogers' Captain America that says, "Bucky, it hurts so much. Not the pain. The physical pain, that I can stand. It's facing this world without you by my side. Without your voice in my ear reminding me who I am." The panels then intercut between what's happening in Latveria and the flashbacks of Colton beating this soldier to death as Captain America Steve Rogers continues to say, "Something's not right. I can't believe Doom, but there's something I'm not seeing. I'm a soldier who went back to base. It's what we do. And they clad me in a colder flag, a darker one." Then on the final page of the issue, we see a flashback image of Colton standing over the soldier he just brutally beat to death in rage, as the monologue from Steve Rogers concludes with him saying, "If this new world is darkness, I won't bend to it, Bucky. I can't. Doom is right. I have to be a light." Along with a final image of Steve Rogers' Captain America lying unconscious beneath the rubble created by the Doombot explosion, as well as the Captain America statue laid over top of him. And with that, the issue comes to a close with "To be continued" and a tease of Captain America issue 4. This was yet another great addition to Zdarsky's Captain America title. While I might not agree with all of his perspectives, the writing is really smart and the character development is excellent. I also really dig the way Doom was written here, as well as how the conflict is building within Steve and between him and Colton. The contrast between these two characters and their guiding experiences and principles while behind the shield has been really effective so far. But what do you guys think of this issue? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. And remember to click our link to download Raid Shadow Legends right away so you don't miss the TMNT crossover event along with all those exclusive freebies. Other than that, we will see you next time when we talk about all things comics.